Plot twist, Mikey did get kicked out of the Goondocks, but guess where he ended up? Notre Dame.
Welcome to Retro Film Review, where we look back at movies that shaped our generation. I'm Ed.
And I'm Thor, and today we're looking at 1993's Rudy. But first, we would like you to like, subscribe, share, hit the bell notification, get your friends to open up their phones or whatever in front of you, to have them scroll, subscribe. Trust me, you're going to earn like bonus points or something like that.
It's a true underdog story.
That's right.
All right, so this movie, Rudy, is a true underdog story. This is about a kid who has dreamed all through his childhood of going to play for Notre Dame, and things just don't work out for him.
Nope.
But he keeps pursuing, and finally gets his chance.
A lot of persistence, a lot of daydreaming. But if you don't daydream and put that into a goal, you know, what do you really have? It's just a fantasy that doesn't come true.
Right.
But this is such a heartwarming story because even though it's his dream, so many people are trying to put him down.
Right.
And so not only is he overcoming a lot of his personal setbacks, I mean his size, his education level, he's got all these people, his own father, his brothers, family, friends, co-workers that tell him, you can't do it. It's not going to happen.
And it's so much a story that so many people can relate to, whether or not you like football or not, depending on whatever your personal situation is. You may be trying to do better for yourself, be the first one in your family to go to college, or get out of a certain community, or just even trying to do better for yourself. And I think that message of this movie really sets that tone for people.
Right. I was going to say that this movie transcends football, the message.
Right.
So it's just set in a football setting. But, I mean, I know people, you know, writing books and stuff like that, people, you're not going to do it. You're not going to make it, you know.
Right.
And they just want to put you down. People who go on American Idol or X Factor or places like that, how many times have they heard, you're not going to make it, you're not going to do it? And a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
But it's pursuing that dream. You know, I wouldn't go on American Idol to sing, but...
And I'm glad you don't.
But see, I know my limitations.
But it also gives a message of there are gifts and things that we do in life that we don't necessarily consider as achievements. But the one character that Charles Dutton played, who was a groundskeeper, kind of reels him back in and says, look at all these other things that you've accomplished trying to reach your goal. You may not reach your goal, but look at all these other things that you've done that you never thought you would. And so it also gives a message of saying, you know, look, you may not necessarily get what you want out of life, or you might not hit your goals, but look at all the things that you've achieved trying to reach that.
Well, it's sometimes what your thought of success is. Like if you want to be famous or you want to be known for something, but you're plugging along and you have a good home life, good family, good job, you know, you drive a decent car that's not breaking down all the time. Sometimes you have to look for the little stuff that, okay, you know, you're not homeless, you're not in jail, you're not doing all these different things.
Right.
You actually are successful, but you're just not where you want to be. So keep going for it.
Right.
So
let's go into the movie. This Sean Astin, famous for playing Mikey in the Goonies. This is probably his next big starring role. He's had other roles in before this with Memphis Belle and Encino Man, but this was his other big shot. And honestly, Sean Astin really kind of personally, I think he personifies this character, not only in size, but also heart. I mean, even with what he was in the Goonies, and I just kind of feel that's, I don't know, that may be wrong, but that's just kind of that's Sean Astin's personality. He's kind of the go-getter. He wants to put, you know, out, I mean, he wants to do what he can to kind of make himself well-known.
Right.
And even one of the stories that I read about him auditioning for the role When he came in, he was just in a pair of jeans and a white T-shirt, his small frame, and they were like, "Well, this guy looks like the guy."
Right.
But then he just kept pushing and pushing, and the heart of Sean Astin actually won him the role to play the guy who has lots of heart. They were trying to find, or the studio wanted them to have more bigger names, people that would draw women to it, and they were looking at Brendan Fraser, Matt Damon, and I think even Charlie Sheen. And all these guys, they're tall.
Oh yeah.
And they just, I mean, you're trying to play a guy who's 5'6".
Yeah, you need a guy that's 5'6".
And so yeah,
to it.
exactly. and even the real Dan Rudiger, or Rudy as we will now call him, but is he wasn't a hunky person, they and so they really wanted to have somebody who really more embodied that look and that style, and I thought they did a great job of casting on that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we talked before about how casting directors make such a big deal. I mean, an important role in the movie.
Right.
But yeah, picking someone his size for that, and having the personality he does. Same thing he brought, like you said, to Goonies. It's like he's typecast, where he brings everybody together. He's the heart and soul of Goonies and of Rudy, obviously. But I couldn't think of anybody else in there.
Right.
Matt Damon be even thinner, I would think.
He probably would be, because he was in Courage Under Fire around that same time, and he was really, really thin. Now, maybe he was thin for that role, but
that's the movie I was thinking of.
You
gotta go back and watch him.
Yeah, it is a good movie. I do recommend it.
I couldn't remember the name then, but that's it.
Just for you to hear
the weight loss.
Meg Ryan go, "Rainy!" Anyways, sorry, her bad Southern accent just sticks in my mind the whole time.
It's Meg Ryan, so who cares?
It is. Whatever happened to her? She needs to have a comeback.
Right.
Anyways, back to Rudy. So his family life, as portrayed in the movie, was kind of a hit and miss. I mean, it was a really big family, and initially you kind of looked at it especially when they brought it in, they had the dinner, and it looks like they were inviting kids from the neighborhood, and anybody that wanted to come join the Rudiger family was welcome, which was kind of always how. I'm an only child, so I always kind of wish that was kind of how it was growing up for me, that would have been a fun aspect. But then you kind of delve into it a little bit more, and you have brothers who don't really give him the time of day or don't give him the respect that he wants, and then there's really hierarchy within their family, and they're really a working class family working at the steel mill.
Yeah. Well, I'm a middle child, so I know what it's like from both ends, let's just say. How you're treated from both sides. The youngest is always the baby of the family. They can't do anything wrong. Looking at you, young man. So, he's 41 years old. I call him young man. So, but anyway.
Always the baby.
Yeah, Rudy was, of course, that's part of his last name, but he was the third out of 14 kids. That's a big family.
That's a huge family.
Yes, but I've
had a lot of mouths to feed.
Yeah, the steel mill is hard work. I have family members that run Ohio River working in the steel mill.
Yeah.
So it's extremely hard work, and so it wouldn't be beyond any of them to want to get out of that life.
Right.
I mean, it's good pay, it's a good union job, things like that. But to better yourself, and that's what Rudy's trying to do. But his father, his brothers, co-workers, except for his best friend, kept saying, "You're not going to do it. Stick with what you've got. You've got a good job here. You've got a good career that you could stay in,
right?
And you don't have to worry about it." And he had a girlfriend that she even in the movie, she's like, "I'm biding my time. It's been 4 years. It's time to give up this dream.
Right.
Here's a house we can live in. You owe me this. Come on."
Yeah.
He finally, after his friend dies, says, "Yeah, I've got to go. I got to live this dream. It's either now or never."
Yeah.
So, and I wonder how many of us have stopped on a dream.
I know. Yeah.
What dream did we have when we were younger, or you just came up with it? That's your passion. That that there's naysayers are going to be there.
Right. Yeah. And just as far as even if you did pursue it, or what would you have given up, personally, to have to go follow that dream, but you stayed with what you had,
Well, a lot of people, if you don't go to college right away, which is fine, not everybody goes to college. Not everybody, as, what is it, Caddyshack? When the judge says, the world needs ditch diggers too.
Right.
It's true. The world, we need retail workers and ditch diggers and plumbers and everything else. You can make a very good living doing a lot of those things. Not everybody's meant to go to college.
Right.
And I know that sounds bad, like you're limiting them. But some people don't have the drive. They don't have that desire. They just want to get out and start making a paycheck.
Well, and nowadays, college ain't all what it's up to. You sometimes learn an apprenticeship. I will tell you that right now. Learn an apprenticeship. Start out early. You'll do well. But going to college was really not his drive. His drive to go was to play football.
Yeah.
And I'm curious of whether or not, I don't know if you saw anything with your research. I didn't, but what drove him to go follow his dream was when his friend died in a tragic accident at the steel mill. But for the movie purposes, it all seems that all of that happened. All of his decisions happened very quickly at the right spot and the right time in a nice cinematic way. Mm-hmm. I call that movie magic, because you walk out of your friend's funeral to go ditch your girlfriend and move on to South Bend. Mm-hmm. A lot of that happened really quick there.
Well, when he graduated high school, one thing they don't even show in the movie is he went in the Navy.
Right.
He was in the Navy for 2 years, go Navy, and then he came back and worked at the power plant.
Right.
Well, probably, I don't know if I'd classify the steel mill as a power plant,
no.
But it says he worked at a power plant, and then his friend died, and then he decided. So he wasn't the young guy coming right out of high school, trying to get on a college football team. He had some years behind him, and sometimes coming in maybe a little bit older gives you a different perspective.
Oh, yes.
Well, if you went back to college now, you could, and all these young people that are going to college, they don't know what they're doing. They don't really have a clue, a lot of them. And you can sit there and say, that's not how it works in the real world. You got to establish X, Y, and Z to do this. Ideals are great, but there's practicality.
Well, and there's a lot of truth to that, because I had one of my really great friends. He did the Navy before, and then came in, and he was just like,
"Oh, not me,
huh?
Not me."
Another one. But he talked about how he would go there and he'd go like, your mama would not appreciate if you're doing that. And he would just feel like, coming in at 22 to a bunch of 18-year-olds, he said, I just felt like their daddy, just trying to teach them how to live life and live responsibly. But but I do have to say, as far as the movie goes, mm-hmm. the first part to me is it's okay. I really like when he gets to Notre Dame, like he gets to South Bend, because to me that's where it takes up. But there's so much groundwork you have to mm-hmm. set to establish his relationships with his brothers, his family, his dad, and just kind of get that going.
It could have been shortened down.
Well, it could have been,
condensed, whatever.
But you alluded to this earlier, where most people think of this as a football movie.
Right.
I think it more of almost a family drama that then really has football at the end. That's just kind of what gets him to achieve his dreams. But yeah, and to me, the end is really exciting and moving and emotional. And
well, that's what all your dreams and hard work and everything he strived for pays off.
Right.
I saw in the one review that he played 27 seconds in the game.
Yeah. As
an actual football player, which still makes you a football player. You're on the team, on the field. That makes you a football player for the team. But the one commentator said you took 27 years to just get 27 seconds.
Right. And how many people out there in the world, whether it's in business or entertainment or music people, who are the one-hit wonders that takes so long to get to that,
Yeah, I've always wondered, would you rather be a one-hit wonder or not have a hit at all?
Right.
Because all you're known for is that one hit. And it's like I can see how depression would come on pretty good.
Yeah. Rudy's known for that one sack. And he's taking it pretty well.
Yeah. Well, he's known for a lot more. I mean, he was the first player ever to be carried off the football field at Notre Dame.
Right.
And when this movie came out in '93, it said no one ever since 1975. But there was another player in 1995, so they would have known, that got carried off the field, and that was, I wrote his name down, Mark, so I wouldn't forget, Mark Edwards.
Okay.
So
yeah.
So 2 players, but he was the first. You got to be the first, the best, or the only, and you're good.
So was Edwards injured, or was he?
Yeah, I didn't look that up.
We didn't say that it was a stretcher.
Yeah, but just being on the field is one thing, because that was his dream. I mean,
right.
He didn't say, oh, I've got to score a touchdown, or I've got to do this, or I've got to do that. I just want to be on the field. I want to run through the tunnel and come out there. And, of course, he told everybody. He met the groundskeeper, which, Fortune, it was like a mashup of 3 different people. But,
right.
Whoever he saw, he's like, I'm going to come running out of that tunnel. He had the gumption to go to the head coach while he was still at the community college, says, hey, I'm going to be coming here next year.
Right.
And I wanted to go ahead and meet you and tell you I'm going to be out in the field for the tryouts, and I look forward to joining you on your team. And the coach is like, thank you, here. Go.
Yeah.
We'll see you later, buddy.
Kinda barged into his office.
Yeah. But sometimes our ambition, our drive, our goals makes us do things that we probably wouldn't normally do.
Right. Oh, I know.
I mean, if he didn't barge into the coach's office,
he probably wouldn't.
And I'm not saying that's always the best thing to do, but for this movie, let me go ahead and set up an appointment, to meet with the coach. And the coach is like, who's this guy from the junior college that wants to talk to me?
Right.
5'6", 165 pounds. I mean,
probably would not have given the time
of day. The linemen are like
and...
twice that size.
Yeah.
I'm not a small guy, and those football players are huge.
Right.
I wouldn't want to go up against them.
Yeah.
They put me on my back.
The one thing that, we're talking about the other football players, the way that Rudy and his heart kept pushing to keep working and working really gained the respect of those football players.
Yes.
I mean, like I said, you said these guys are 2 and 3 times his size. Mm-hmm. And I would say that's probably a stronger feat in itself of actually getting on the field, was learning the respect of those players, because they, with the movie, they took care of him.
Oh yeah.
Which was
big
really
time.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, at first they weren't mocking him at first. Like in the movie when they're showing during the practices and stuff like that, he wants to keep going and trying to hit him, and they're just beating him, not on purpose, not like a fight, but it's more like they're just bigger and they're running him over, and they're like, you just need to stop. And of course he gets back up, and that's the determination, the drive. That'll get you a lot of places.
Well, and even like he says, why do you do this? He says, well, I'm doing this to make you better.
Yeah.
And so I think that really spoke to those players, and I think it also speaks to us that not only when we do stuff to try to help better ourselves, that we're also need to do stuff to help better our people around us. Mm-hmm. It's, little life lessons.
Yeah, you never know. Sometimes when someone's watching you go through something, it could be you're later in life and you've always wanted to get a college degree. I know we talk a lot about college, but this is a college movie as well. Some people say, well, why do that? You're in your 30s or your 40s or 50s or even later. What's the point now? And it's like, but that's what I want to do.
Why open that restaurant? You just retired at 55. Mm-hmm. Well, that's want to do that.
Oh yeah.
So this movie really had a lot of up and coming actors.
Yes.
You talked about his girlfriend at the beginning, who's played by Lily Taylor. Mm-hmm. So she was in, she has done a lot of art house movies, but is a well-known name, especially for horror fans. The very awful movie, The Haunting, but then a great horror movie, The Conjuring.
Oh yeah.
You've got the first pairing of Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau. They didn't really have a lot of scenes together, but this was the first time that they met, which is what spurred on their lifelong friendship.
Yeah, and then they went in to do Swingers together, the movie.
Great movie.
Yeah. And so, of course, if you don't really know who Jon Favreau is, he's the one who directed the Christmas classic Elf. He's responsible for getting the
Iron Man 2.
The whole, basically the Marvel
He
reboot,
started it.
and then the Mandalorian, and
Yep, he was a creative force behind the Mandalorian and did the directed the Jungle Book, the live action. So, yeah, and he, basically
he is Hollywood right now.
Right, yeah, he's going to take over. Really wanted to start taking over Lucasfilm, which I think that would be really awesome if he did. But we'll see. We'll see.
Probably
John,
good.
we're pulling for you there. Go for it.
He already speak it into existence. He's calling it right now.
From a true fan, we want you. But yeah, and
prophesize, brother.
Right. And so yeah, it was a good kind of start off for a lot of people. And of course, Ned Beatty, who played his father, God rest his soul, did a fantastic job and just kind of brought that all-American dad feel to it.
He did, and he really brought the all-American. He brought the blue-collar worker type. I mean, he played that perfectly.
He did well, and because he was hard-nosed, and he was hard on his kids, but he still loved them.
Oh yeah.
You could feel that whenever Rudy came and showed him his acceptance letter, just how proud he was of him.
Oh yeah.
Just which made his older brother not so happy, and I've read that the character of Frank is not actually a real brother. That it's an amalgam of members of his family and the community.
Oh, okay.
That they kind of pulled it into one.
Yeah. Well, and then they still didn't want to believe him when I made the football team. I'm on the B. I'm on the squad team, the B team. To help the varsity guys. Sure, but we don't see you on the sideline. We can't see you.
Right.
So you're not really on there. It's like you're blowing smoke. And of course, this was before cell phones and everything else. Like, here, I got a selfie with the coach. Here I am on the field.
Right.
Little YouTube video.
Or if you go and take a picture of her, you gotta spend 2 weeks for it to developing before, and then realize you got a crappy shot.
Yes.
But yeah,
those were the days. Wait 2 weeks to get your film back, and my thumb's in the picture. Crap. We all have red eyes. Look at that. That was before. That was after the uprising. Just kidding.
I do want to mention. I know you weren't really that familiar with it, but with the score by Jerry Goldsmith, famous for many movies of the 80s and 90s. But the final, I think they call it the final game, the title of the song, but the one that gets just as your blood pumping and the emotions rising. At the end of it, I think just kind of really encapsulates this thing. It makes grown men cry at the end.
Showing your age, brother. No. No, we commented beforehand that there wasn't a lot of catchy songs or stuff you're just going to hear on the radio playing over and over and over. And that's fine too. Not every movie has to have that.
Right.
That one thing. So, the writer and director of this movie actually wrote another football movie. I'm thinking Indiana. I'm thinking, I don't know. If he edits this out, that's great. If not,
we're going.
Dang it. Basketball. Hoosiers. I don't know. I had football in the brain.
Hoosier Daddy. But yeah, another uplifting underdog type movie.
That's right.
Yeah. You never heard that?
I know the song.
So yeah, and after they wrote that, they were looking for another sports film to do, and then they kind of they heard of the story, and
well, the reason they heard about it is because the real Rudy, he went to Hollywood, out in LA and all that, to get this movie made, because he was watching Rocky and he was finding out how Sylvester Stallone got his movie made, because it's another heartwarming story. You know, there's a lot of life lessons in that movie as well. So he's like, how did he get his movie made? And then he's like, you don't take no for an answer. You got that goal to get your movie made, you just go.
Life goal number 2.
Life goal number 2. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so he found out how it would work. And then became a classic.
And I did read that the people at Notre Dame, like, I guess, the administration was was excited about them coming, and they really kind of thought how they were going to portray that they really wanted them there. But the athletic department was not very excited that why are you choosing this small frame guy who played for 27 seconds on the team to do your movie? We have so many legends here. And, but
they say, you do what you do, we do what we
right. Do. This is the heartwarming story we're going to get, and now everybody's going to want to go to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
It's like Top Gun going to the Navy. Watch that. That's where I want to be.
Great balls of fire.
But the coach, which was Dan Devine,
for the Green Bay Packers,
that was Coach Rudy for his game.
Right.
Initially, he was so. A lot of the interaction in the movie between him and Rudy was that he didn't really care for him, or he was just kind of a nuisance and things like that. I think in real life, what I read, that they got along fine.
Yeah.
And so for story purposes, for this movie, they wanted to kind of make him like a slight villain, and he gave them their blessing to do that.
Right.
But he did not like the scene where all the players turned in their jerseys to him.
Oh, I want Rudy to take my place on the field.
Right.
With their jersey, and I want him to take my place.
Right. Because that did not happen, and that they actually talked to a defensive coach without taking their jerseys off. But Coach Devine has said, yeah, if I had players that came in and turned in their jerseys, they'd have been off the field and off the team. They would not be playing anymore. But
I guess it's the players making an ultimatum.
Right.
To the coach, and you can't have that as a coach.
But he said that he got so much flack from his family about that scene, thinking that it was real.
Oh no.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Rudy, it's a heartwarming story, but he did quit right before that last game because he wasn't on the roster.
Correct.
And so, I guess when he quit, it wasn't because he's like, they're never going to do it. I mean, this was the last game roster.
And
he was not on it. He was a senior, so this was the last game. So he's like, why am I going to the last practice? I am not on the team.
Right.
And so I don't know if you could really fault him for that.
I don't.
And so, but the coach, again, who in the movies played like an antagonist to him, actually got him back and said, come back. This and that. And
we got a change in the roster.
We got a change in the roster, and he kind of is the one. I know they went to the defensive coach, the other players,
right.
But it was Coach Devine that said, let's get you dressed out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, now whether it was the plan at the very end to put him in or not, or at least dressed out.
Who knows?
And because they were up winning in the game. So, it's a lot easier when you're winning to say, all right, you go ahead and get in there for a play. 27 seconds at the end. I don't think they can come back by a few scores. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, have fun.
And he got a sack. I mean,
which gives you stats and really
stats.
Gives you
3 plays, 1 sack.
I was like,
that's pretty good stats, actually.
I mean, actually, it was in high school. I always heard that every time if you were able to get 1 stat, then you got a letter for playing for the football team, but you had to get a stat.
Really?
Yeah. Just being on it didn't do it. You had to play.
Well, no, I mean, I lettered in swimming. Don't judge. It was in Florida. But yeah, you didn't just get a letter for being on the team.
Yeah.
I wasn't the fastest swimmer, but I lettered. So that's what mattered. Heart and determination.
All I can think
I didn't drown.
The Saturday Night Live skit, I'm not that strong of a swimmer. With Martin Short.
Oh, when they do the synchronized swimming.
Yes.
Love Martin Short. That's awesome. With the little nose plugs.
Right.
Well, the way they did the nose, it was just because I know those synchronized swimmers actually you do that so they don't get water up their nose. Anyway, getting off subject.
Yes.
There's one quote. There's a lot of quotes in the movie, but there's one quote that I wrote down because it's quite long, if you don't mind. But I think it plays into us now. And it was written for the movie. This wasn't something that was actually said.
Okay.
But if you give me 1 second, this is from Fortune talking to Rudy. This is right after Rudy quit.
Mm-hmm.
And he went and said, I'm not going to be here anymore. Sorry you didn't get your chance to see me on the field. And Fortune, who's played by an African-American, says, I rode the bench for 2 years. Thought I wasn't being played because of my color. I got filled up with a lot of attitude, so I quit. Still, not a week goes by that I don't regret it. And I guarantee a week won't go by in your life that you won't regret walking out, letting them get the best of you. And so that plays into not just football, that plays into everything that goes on in our lives. If you let somebody talk you out of your dream or something you want to do, legal of course, then you're going to regret it.
Right.
You're going to regret not taking that chance. And it sounds bad, but it's true. It sucks to go through it. It's better to try and fail than not to try. Because if you try something and you don't succeed, you won't have that regret. Now, you could come back and say, I should have done it this way, or maybe if I do it this time, next time, or tweak it. You say, you know what, I tried it and I didn't like it. I didn't want to do it, whatever it is. But if you always, well, I was going to do that, but I didn't.
Yeah.
You're going to hold that regret. And then there will be a certain point in time, depending on what it is, that you won't be able to do it.
Right.
I mean, like if you're a really fast runner, but you never tried out for a team, well, you get to my age, you're not going to run fast like those young guys. Usain Bolt, I'd be like, hi, buddy. See ya. He'll be at the finish line. I'll be 2 steps.
I think that's a great message to end on. You got anything else you want to bring up before we close up?
Don't give up on your dreams.
Well, just help us achieve our dreams by liking and subscribe to this podcast. And hit that button down there. And tell us about what your dreams. What have you been searching for your whole life and that you've achieved through perseverance? And with that, I think we're good.
Yes.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.